This was my father's summer project. I took little part in it. Therefore, there will mostly be only pictures of what has already been done.
Overall, the car is in good condition. Over the course of 40 years, many small things have accumulated that need to be repaired. New spark plugs and their wires. Intake and exhaust valves need adjustment. Gaskets have become hard and ineffective. Fuel pump performance has decreased. Gearbox main shaft is worn out. A lot of time was spent searching for parts. Some can be bought new. Some can only be found in car scrapyards. For example, suspension springs. Or the drive axle reducer. Little things like a painted valve cover help keep a stalled project going. Almost every component needed some sort of fix, like a worn bearing or bushing. Or the starter's electrical contacts. Luckily, only the jacking points were damaged in the bodywork. The rest of the rust was superficial and localized. The dust accumulated over decades was washed off and treated with anti-rust chemicals. The owner plans to drive the car mostly in the summer. Therefore, we agreed that a simple treatment would be enough. The budget is also not infinite for professional treatment in a specialized workshop. The welds are far from perfect, but they will do the job. Shock absorbers are completely worn out. New ones will be installed.
I might grab a bat, I don't know my wrath, my blood boils over like, oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show. So have you ever felt betrayed? Switches how you see things, realize something needs change. 'Cause I know
the new shock absorbers have already been installed here. The springs have been completed. And the primer has already been applied.
just to make a statement, I know there's no turning back. Oh God, adrenaline wasted, so mad I can taste it. I know there's no turning back. I'll do what it takes, I ain't making mistakes like that. I'll bleed on your face to make you go take it back. I'll lose my shit, I go crazy when I'm mad. And now you go wish you would shut the fuck up real bad.
Okay, here we have a Soviet car, Moskvich, which is AZLK 2140. At the start, this car is owned by my friend. It's been sitting a while, and then he think that we can make small repairs to make this car back in the road to pass technical inspection. Yeah, it's in the factory paint. Of course, there's a rust, but it's not so bad for year 1983. I think it's, yeah, maybe it's that. I don't remember actually. So, of course, with these old Soviet cars, you can't do some small repairs and then go. It's just like a domino. You push one little button and it collapses. In this case, at the start is the new gasket for valve covers. The valves is adjusted, and here this fuel pump, it's still not in good condition because it's just old. The previous owner installed here in the middle one pump, again one more pump, but it's not where is it? I can't find it now. But it's kind of bit different. So there is a linkage, and it didn't pass on this engine. But from the engine codes, and also it it must pass. But something here is different. Maybe there is a rod which pushes that linkage, and maybe it's need to change him too to install this new fuel pump. But and at this point it works. We don't know how long is it, but it works. The starter is rebuilt. It has a bad bushings. The bushings is changed. All okay. Then the starter is installed back. After a few starts successful, we think that it's okay. How nice. And then this thing which start this starter, it shows us the middle finger and it won't start. As it's Soviet cars, again, if you didn't totally rebuild all, there's something goes wrong and sent you to your erotic trip. Repaired the radiator. Now it's the water in because we don't know. Because if you want to remove the starter, you must remove these hoses, and if it's the antifreeze, it's costs you a lot. So the headlamps is on its way because it's rust in the reflectors. So the ignition was rebuilt, new wires, new this part, I don't know how it calls, and by engine it's all. The engine is actually in very good condition. Then we take off the gearbox because it's some freaky noises, and we figure it out that this shaft is very loose. This and another one I maybe put in the pictures, and so total rebuild of gearbox, new shafts, new bearings, new bushings, and clutch. It's too new. This is the old one here. Yeah, so by now we Move to the back. Oh, freshly painted rims. And in the back it's the springs, suspension springs. I don't know what actually it calls. So this is a new, not new. It's used, but it's rebuilt completely new. So new these plastic things that prevents the noise of the heating. New suspensions, new disc hose, because in its life this car was in some, I don't want to call it as an accident, but something is happened with him, because this one was flat fully. I think it's heated by the mufflers exhaust somewhere, and of course this is to rebuild it. And freshly painted. About the rust, the few here and here holes is rusted. It's for push it up the car or change the tire. And the whole floor, it's completely good. No rusted holes, solid, pretty good. So this is the gearbox. Rebuild it, and back of the car. So the next step is this front suspension. There are some bad bushings which have to be replaced, and then we think that this car can pass the inspection and go back to the road. The owner of this car says at the start no historical rebuilding, just for pass the inspection and go to the road. But as always, you touch one thing and the other comes to, yeah, oh, this should be changed too. It's in the trunk somewhere or somewhere else. There's a bunch of parts. Some parts we use it, some parts we don't use it. Ah, here it is, the shaft of the gearbox. So, yeah, of course, for this rust things must, if we paint it, it will be look, the look was better. But okay, this is the next thing what we do. So this is of course of the modern cars, this looks I don't know, uncomfortable, but it's a history.
Viņš ir jāies iekšā, baļad ar šito pusi arī, kuru un diezgan spēcīgi, baļad. Tad nevar saprast, vai te viņš pēc tam jau lipinājis vai nu.
As expected, the front suspension also requires attention. The biggest problems were the brake calipers. A repair kit was enough for one. The other had to be bought new. The system is quite complex. Each brake caliper has 4 cylinders. Just like in modern sports cars. However, the main line to them is divided, so almost each one has to be bleed separately. Access to the bleed valve is quite limited. The paint is of secondary importance here. The plan is to install aftermarket fender lockers. This area will not be visible, and also protected. But an extra layer of paint will not do any harm. At this point, things seemed to be moving forward. But there was no way to bleed the brakes and make them effective. Of course, the fault lay in the last node that had not yet been intervened. The master brake cylinder. There was rust in it, as in the rest of the system. The cylinder pistons are divided so that each one operates its own brake circuit. One of them was completely rusted out. And so again the road to the shop for parts. Again bleeding the system. When it seemed that the result would be achieved, the rear brakes started to rust. Rust from the master cylinder had also reached the rear axle brake caliper. A piece of rust got stuck in the valve and there was no way to get the rear wheel brakes to be the same. Another proof that you can't repair just one node in such old cars. You have to go through each element. It will save you nerves and time.
Dzirdētām dziesmām. Lietuvietis Ignis Poculs, jeb Daddy was a Milkman, rada aizkustinošu skaistu mūziku, padarot katru savu uzstāšanos par īpašu notikumu.
And that's it. It wasn't a restoration. A regular garage repair. The car passed the technical inspection and can now delight its owner by driving on the streets. That was exactly the goal. To drive and give satisfaction. Thanks if you watching.